Hi, I'm currently working my way through the unwatched portion of my Jacques Tati box set. So the most recent film I watched was Mon Oncle, My Uncle, the central installment of the Monsieur Hulot series, following on from Monsieur Hulot's Holiday and followed by Playtime and Traffic. And it's very much an intermediate installment in Tati's filmography. With Holiday, we had um, a perfection of visual joke, of simply comic performance and visual gag. But with Playtime, we have much greater complexity, a comprehension of the entire world of a film, of having multiple elements happening in different parts of the screen at once, and an overall arc of the nature of people in relation to their surroundings. Mon Oncle falls in the middle between these two. It has a lot of visual jokes and it's leaning more towards the designed, contained world of Playtime, which was filmed entirely on purpose built sets, whereas Holiday was shot entirely on location. But Mon Oncle, largely filmed in studio, very specifically designed and created. But it hits a middle ground, and as a result, I feel it falls between the two stools. It's not as funny as either, and it's not as perfectly conceived as either. What it does have is a much stronger leaning than Holiday towards the humanism of Playtime. The story essentially is, again, it's about Hulot living in the rundown old town and frequently going to visit his sister and brother-in-law and nephew, who live in a modern villa in the suburbs. And the nephew idolizes his uncle, spends as much time with him as they can, and they get into all sorts of various scrapes, while the nephew's parents are social climbers, always trying to ingratiate themselves with their fancy neighbors, having parties, showing off their villa, which is absolutely hideous and unlivable, filled with modern furniture that's horrible. Um, there's a running gag of the electric gates to let the car in or to let pedestrians in and out, and most prominently, the fish fountain, which they only turn on when people have rung the doorbell. And then as soon as they realize that it's their brother Hulot, they turn the fountain off again. There's some elements that I noticed repeated from later works. For example, the very lengthy journey Hulot has to take from the front door of his apartment building up various stairs and down various routes to get to his front door in the very top is exactly like a sequence near the beginning of Wes Anderson's The French Dispatch, where a waiter has to take a similar route in and out of various doors up a building to get to the magazine's offices. But it felt more like a film coasting by on charm. There's not much in the way of content, and I actually felt this was rather slow. It's nearly 2 hours, and it doesn't feel like it has enough content to cover that amount of screen time. So as a result, it wasn't especially funny, and it didn't go far enough in terms of the humanistic element. It really does feel like connective tissue between the perfectly wrought lightweight comedy of Holiday and the perfectly tuned epic humour of Playtime. It's an important stepping stone, a vital one, but not necessarily one that's worth watching or watching. At the time, it won the Oscar for Best Foreign Language Film, which is interesting because Hulot was nominated for its script. This won Best Foreign Language Film. Holiday won nominated for its script. Playtime, which is Tati's masterpiece, was completely overlooked, possibly because it was heavily cut when it was released in the US. But it just goes to show that even in this unfinished, unrefined form, Tati was doing something no one else was. He was creating a world and creating a way of portraying film comedy in a way that was totally unique and totally original. And he would push that further with Playtime to create a masterwork. But as for Mon Oncle, It's fine, but it should have been better.